MIT just out with a new study about AI and productivity and just how many jobs could be at risk. Mackenzie Sagalis joins us with that story. Market pays attention to these MIT studies on AI.
Yeah, that last one on 95% of enterprise adoptions of AI not working out. Now MIT has built agent clones of 151 million working Americans, essentially software counterparts to real people, in order to identify which jobs are most at risk years before layoffs hit. Now, it's called the Iceberg Index, and it uses these agents to map more than 32,000 skills across 923 occupations in 3,000 counties, revealing exposure to AI displacement in every state, not just coastal cities. The report shows that while only 2% of AI-driven wage disruption is visible in tech hubs today, there's actually a hidden layer of exposure that is 5 times larger than what we see today, cutting across industries and geographies, hence why they call it the Iceberg Index. Now, findings indicate that AI can already take over tasks tied to nearly 12% of the U.S. labor market. That's about $1.2 trillion in wages, especially in careers tied to healthcare, finance, and professional services. For lawmakers preparing billion-dollar reskilling and training investments, the index offers a detailed map of where disruption is forming down to the zip code, and crucially, a way to run what-if scenarios before they commit real money and legislation. You've got states like Tennessee, Utah, and North Carolina, also co-authors on this new report, that are already using Iceberg to test everything from new training programs to skills-first hiring rules before they formally commit to policies and spending. Guys?
I'm amazed at this story, Mackenzie, and this money quote that you use, where they argue that we're basically creating a digital twin for the U.S. labor force.
But researchers do stress that this isn't a countdown clock to layoffs. It's more of an early warning map so that policymakers can move money and training around before the shock hits. And so the coolest component of this report is the fact that the Iceberg team has built an interactive simulation environment that allows states to actually experiment with different policy levers, from shifting workforce dollars and tweaking training programs to actually exploring how changes in tech adoption might actually affect local employment and GDP. Tennessee has been the furthest along with this. They've actually built their own AI and work dashboard that tracks occupational exposure and wage effects across the state, and that's helping currently to guide its policy and spending decisions.
All right, well, let's hope Elon Musk is right then, that we won't need money or jobs.
Because work is optional?
Yeah, work is going to be optional.
Like growing vegetables.
Yeah, that would pair nicely with this. Thank you, Mackenzie.
I don't know. What do y'all think about that? Before I even go any further, let me slow. I apologize, guys. Let me slow that down a little bit. Hey, guys, what's up? It's your boy, Talk Williams, host and creator of Hip Hop 50th. I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to anybody who may come across this feed now, when, in the future. But anyway, yeah, you see the title. The title speaks for itself. Gen Z. Gen Z. If you're not sure who Gen Z are, we're all part of some generational label, as they say. But Gen Z is unique to the age group of 1997 to 2012. That's who they are. And it's tough. It's tough. They're facing a shrinking job market, and on the back end of that they can see coming down the train track is the AI boom. Yeah. So the AI is actually cutting off opportunities. Companies are not refilling positions that are currently being vacated, or at a minimum, they're reducing the amount and they're redefining the position itself from the back end with AI. These reports have surfaced up all through different types of ADP reports and panels held and about. But let's just listen to another clip about the difficulty of Gen Z. I mean, this idea of where they're going to get jobs at, where they're going to land these opportunities. The latest reports show that the new graduating class from 2025, the unemployment rate for those new college graduates was higher than the unemployment rate for the country. The country's unemployment rate is about a little more than 4%. The graduating class unemployment rate is over 6%. In fact, they go to say that right now, between the ages of 16 and 24, and if you think about Gen Z, those were the individuals born between 1997 and 2012. So that's a 15-year range. Their age right now is the age of 13 to 28. So if you think about that unemployment rate reaching above 10% for just the age group of 16 to 24, I know that's a bunch of numbers I'm overlapping. Just trust me, do a little research and you'll see it's scary for the youth. It is just a different world. It's a different beast out here for them. But let me be quiet for a minute and actually play this piece here that echoes more the sentiments about what's going on now.
This year, white-collar employers have been slashing entry-level jobs and stepping up their investments in AI, and it's showing in the data. The Labor Department says a shocking 25% of all unemployed Americans in September had a bachelor's degree or higher. Taylor, I'm coming your way on this. You are the AI optimist around here. Okay, you like college too. You have many degrees. But it's not working out for a lot of college graduates. Is that a problem with AI? Is that a problem with college? Or is it not a problem at all?
Oh, let's see. I don't think it's a problem with AI because I am the AI optimist, where I still continue to believe that, who used the analogy yesterday? When Uber came along, we all thought, oh my gosh, that's going to put taxi drivers out of business. But it just gave Uber drivers a new business. So I firmly believe that AI will help us to create new jobs that maybe today we cannot yet imagine or envision. It'll create new lines of work for us. The college thing is different, and I've talked about this before. It's going to be up to my generation to tell my kids who were 16 years away from college that it's okay if there's a different alternative. Colleges need to do a better job of, I think, providing more value. We've talked about this. Technology, Kevin knows, AI is moving so quickly. So colleges aren't going to be able to keep up with the new AI technology, the retraining skills. Trade schools might. If a trade school has this cool new robotics thing, they can in 6 months train up someone to use it. You know, I feel like they'll just be a little bit faster. So I don't know. That was kind of a mixed bag for you.
Well, Kevin, you're a college professor, as I understand it.
Thank you.
Among the many other things you do, you profess from time to time.
Yes.
Should people stop going to hear you profess because it's just not going to work in an AI age?
No, and I'll tell you what I tell my students. These are primarily entrepreneurs and students in master's degrees, either MBAs or in Masters of Science and Engineering. And this is the truth, and not all the tenured professors like me saying this to the class. I teach the cases, but I tell them, look, you're a highly curated class of people here. You've been picked from all over the world. This is, for example, a Harvard class. You've come from everywhere in the world, and you've made the cut into this cohort of, call it, 120 people. Now, you're going to forget everything I say and all the other professors that are going to pitch you stuff over the next 2 years. But what you're not going to forget are the people sitting beside you. They are becoming your network for the rest of your life. And there's where the value is. First, to get into MIT or any American college in the post-secondary and be with a cohort for 12 to 24 months and meet these people. And already I'm seeing these pairings only after 6 months where two of them didn't even know each other saying, hey,
can I ask
let's
you a
start a
question
business
about that, though? Because I've said that. I've made that argument to Brian. That's my
like
friends
that
and
argument?
family round on my new VC deal, right? I call them up, and they're my new venture capital money. And he says, well, that's a pretty expensive way to network. $200,000 you want me to spend to get a network?
But I was going to extend the argument, which I think you may or may not like. When we talked about cutting off access to our institutions to foreign students, I thought that was an insane idea, because if we don't take them, the Chinese are going to take them. Because when you curate the best of the best in every discipline and you bring them to American colleges, they get indoctrinated into American society. They want to stay here, and they want to get a visa, and they want to bring their families over. We did it for decades, and we're a very successful economy. So I'm
going to jump in right here, because that's a perfect example of the disconnect, the wedge, the widening of those who have it, those who don't. those who are connected, you know, have some type of ground base to what's really going on, and maybe those who don't. If you guys are familiar with Kevin O'Leary, you might have remember him on Shark Tank. He was a big guy on Shark Tank. He's a multi-millionaire. He's all tied into everything. He went to private schools. He was fed a silver spoon, a platinum spoon growing up. He's always had exposure and teachings to the best of the best, okay? So when he's sitting there talking about, he disagrees with the whole idea of there being some revamping or remaking, as some of the other panelists said, about what college is, how they present, how they teach, and different things like that. And he's against a lot of what's being said. That's because he's not talking about bell curve, you know, and like I said in the past, the reason why I speak about bell curve is because bell curve represents a overwhelming majority, not just a technical majority of 50% of more of something. Bell curve speaks about 68% of a normal distribution or standard deviation of something occurring in terms of its probability or in terms of it actually happening. And the reality of it is, we're not talking about the best of the best. We're talking about the bell curve. We're talking about the 68% of new college graduates who may be seeking a career, or their academic path was in some sort of technology, some type of finance, HR, customer support, of the like, where they're going to be part of, you know, the knowledge economy, as they say. In fact, I have this book right here. The name of this book is called Teaming. Let me see. Can you see that? Maybe not. Just take my word. Act like I'm not lying. But the name of this book is called Teaming, and it's by Amy C. Edmondson, Harvard University. Yeah. That's right. In fact, Harvard Business School, that's what she's out of. And in there, they talk about the knowledge economy, knowledge workers, and different things like that. So that term, that the coupling of the two, where you have new college graduates facing the highest unemployment rate in decades, and then you have a shrinking economy in terms of opportunities. And now you say, well, damn, well, what am I going to do? I thought that IT was the ticket. I thought that business analyst was the ticket. I thought that business administration, there would just be some internships or externships or some fast track hiring in place for me. And that is simply not there. And we're about to enter 2026, and it's even going to get tighter. That tunnel is going to get tighter. That wide lake is turning into a giant pond, and you know, the rivers are becoming creeks in that sense. So when people explore, when these young adults, the Gen Zers, again, remember, the Gen Zers are that age group right now between the ages of 13 and 28, because that's that 15-year generational path that people refer to. Gen Z is being born 1997 to 2012. So they're facing all types of things as far as their career goes, how productive they can be, and different things like that. Now you say, well, so what is it? Is it a no-win situation? No, it's not a no-win situation. It's just a reality check. It's just that schools, colleges, these institutions of learning or higher learning, the paradigm has to shift now in light of the current economy, and definitely because of AI. This one-size-fit-all, this warehousing way of teaching that never fit everybody, but it wasn't supposed to. It was the bell curve. That needs to change. I just think there needs to be a different protocol, a different approach. There just needs to be more fluidity in terms of individual students, even though they're in the same grade. Because when you talk about the lower end of Gen Z, being 13 years old, they are entering high school. They're about to make a choice in college, some type of academic path in college to pursue a particular career. So there needs to be some difference there, definitely a dramatic, a cultural shift there about teaching, the adoption, the embracing, the inviting of not only AI tools and resources and new technology in and of itself, but how it's applied to the students actually coming through. But let me play this other clip that I found interesting. And this is from someone we all know, Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is speaking about how his company, he has what's called a chancellor of hiring. I think he referred to this person as the chancellor of hiring or something. But the way I understood it in context, this was the HR department. But this is, of course, SpaceX, or this is Tesla. This is one of Elon Musk's companies, right? And that's the title. And he says he does not require, or the chancellor of hiring does not require a college degree from new hires. He doesn't. But he goes to say there must be some evidence of that special sauce, that elevated capability. There has to be some evidence, of that. You know, like, we know the degree in and of itself is not it. This is what he's saying, but he can say it better than me. I'm just paraphrasing. Let's take a listen.
You don't need college to learn stuff, okay? Everything is available basically for free. You can learn anything you want for free. It is not a question of learning. There is a value that colleges have, which is like, you know, seeing whether can somebody work hard at something, including a bunch of sort of annoying homework assignments, and still do their homework assignments and kind of soldier through and get it done. You know, that's like the main value of college. And then also, you know, if you probably want to hang around with a bunch of people your own age for a while instead of going right into the workforce. So I think colleges are basically for fun and to prove you can do your chores, but they're not for learning. So I want to make sure Tesla recruiting does not have anything that says requires university, because that's absurd. But there is a requirement of evidence of exceptional ability. Like, you just can't, if you're trying to do something exceptional, you must have evidence of exceptional ability. I don't consider going to college evidence of exceptional ability. In fact, ideally you dropped out and did something. I mean, obviously, you know, we just look at, like, you know.
Elon Musk says he does not consider college evidence of exceptional ability. That's it. Like, that's what it is for him. He doesn't view it that way. And it's probably several reasons, okay? One, I get it. There has to be some type of evaluation. There has to be a way to filter people through. There has to be some gauge or some metric or something, right? Some barrier of entry and different things like that. But as the CEO, as the founder, as the owner of the company, you get to set what that is at the top. For Elon Musk, he's like, look, we're not going to play with these college degrees. We're looking for evidence of exceptional ability. That's our engineer. That's our designer. It's almost like this. I can remember as a shorty, even as an adult, but I'm an OG now, and I'm, you know, it's whatever. But I can remember looking for a job, excited, looking for an opportunity, excited, looking for some temp work through a tech agency or something like that, excited. And I was able to get onto it. I was able to grab that opportunity. But yet, I was let go because when my paperwork came through, I didn't look good on paper. I didn't have the college. I didn't have the high school diploma. I did not look good on paper. So the paperwork, the protocol spit me out. It just spit me out. I was able to work and get some other assignments, but that was it. But what I noticed was what the pattern seemed to be for a lot of people, not just me, because we're uniquely the same. A lot of us, given an opportunity, whether it be in a personal relationship, domestic, some business, corporate America, it doesn't matter what it is. When given the opportunity first sometimes, if some type of way you get it, you do well, you perform well. You're like, damn, like the woman or the man that you're dating, they're impressed, right? They're like, damn, this first impression, cool. I want to see you again. Okay, you get an assignment, you get a job, you get some work somewhere. They say, man, this guy's a great painter. He's a good electrician. I like the way he wired that. How did you think to do that? And he's telling you about his hands-on experience and who he's had exposure to and what was explained to him, his studies and stuff. You say, damn. But then when they go to look at the paperwork, or they need to see the credentials, or it requires a certification, or some type of license or something like that, it's like, you're not our guy. You're not our guy. When the woman or the man runs into the ex, you're not our guy. You're not my woman. You're not this. You know, all of these are relationships, right? So to Elon Musk's point, think about Gen Z. They're young. Right now, they're 13 years old to 28 years old. That's what they are. They're going into high school. They're about to make a choice in college. They're coming out of college. They're already out of college if they're 28. They're doing grown folk stuff. How do they position themselves? What is their strategy? What is the technique? What would be their mode of operandus? How will they navigate through this world of a shrinking economy and with AI coming at them? In their foresight, it's coming over the horizon. They can see it. It's like a sunrise. What do they do? Especially if they're part of the knowledge economy. The knowledge economy being those types of jobs that we all have where we're dealing with systems, we're dealing with automation, we're dealing with streamlining processes. A lot of us are not face-to-face with clients. We're not face-to-face with customers. We don't actually go out and book sales. We're not the commercial. We're not doing the marketing. If we are, it's in the background. Maybe you're doing content creation. Maybe you're sizing up. Maybe you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, if it's knowledge work. Those are the positions that are most vulnerable to AI. What is it that they do? That's why I agree with what Elon Musk says. He says, look, the degree is cool if you have it, but you're not staying here because of the degree, because the degree will land you a position that your real skill set, or as he say, your lack of exceptional ability won't allow you to keep. It just won't. That's what I tell young people today. Your degree will get you the interview. It sure will. But in technology, you can't hide the work. That's the thing about technology. You cannot hide the work. But anyway, let me be quiet for a minute and go to this guy who said this when he was asked by a college student in Virginia. He was asked by one of these college students, hey, does a bachelor's degree, a BS degree, will it help me? Listen to the response.
Up front, Mark.
How you doing? My name is Tolly McMillan. I'm a sophomore political science student from the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Next governor. But my question to you, I want to thank you for coming here. My question for you, do you think a bachelor's degree with your experience with college and everything, do you think a bachelor's degree is a necessary key to attaining success?
Ooh, I am not your role model on this one. Yeah, absolutely. Stay in school. Look. I think it helps. I loved the time that I spent in college.
The reason why I stopped it there, I'm gonna play it back and I'm gonna be quiet, I promise. But the reason why I stopped it there, where he says, okay, look, I love the time that I spent in college. That was right after the guy said, be real. And the reason why I stopped it there is because Mark Zuckerberg's true, honest answer was his response to the question, the first 7 seconds of that, where he chuckled, where he laughed, where he says, I am not your role model for that. That's the real answer. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to applaud that truth. But what he said the first 7 or 9 seconds to that gentleman's question is the real actual answer. And now he's getting ready to go into the fluff, politically correct. Let me say something that's going to support people wasting money coming to these schools and all of that. So I'll play it from the beginning and be quiet. But the first 7 to 9 seconds of his response to the question, that's the real answer.
How you doing? My name is Tolly McMillan. I'm a sophomore political science student from the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Next governor. But my question to you, I want to thank you for coming here. My question for you, do you think a bachelor's degree with your experience with college and everything, do you think a bachelor's degree is a necessary key to attaining success?
Ooh, I am not your role model on this one. Yeah, absolutely. Stay in school. Look. I think it helps. I loved the time that I spent in college. I wish I could have gotten more time. I did not choose to leave. I just happened to build Facebook, and it kind of made me leave. But if I had the opportunity to learn for 2 more years in college, I mean, college is this magical time, right, where you get to explore different interests and focus on different things and meet great people. And that is not something that I would have wanted to have given up. And if I could have magically if I could have done Facebook in my senior year, I would have done that. Or after I left, I would have done that, and I wish I could have stayed in college. But, and of course, there's no doubt. I mean, there's a lot of research that shows that having a bachelor degree absolutely does help increase your job potential, your earnings potential, all that. So, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's kind of crazy for, I'm not necessarily the best spokesperson for this message, but like, unless there's a really, really good reason to leave college, you really should finish college. And even me, I'm going back to college to get, I'm going to get a degree this year. Harvard finally allowed me to come back. And I have to say, I think that this is probably going to be the thing that my parents are most proud of me for. So look, yes, I'm not the right messenger, but stay in school.
Okay.
A dismal hiring
message,
outlook for the graduating class of 2026.
Surveys show that job prospects for recent graduates are down significantly from a year ago.
Now what they're talking about is the unemployment rate, the job opportunities, different things like that. But before I go further, let me just say this, okay? Yesterday's entry-level position ain't today's entry-level position. Yesterday's pay for knowledge working jobs ain't going to be today's pay. It's definitely not going to be next year's pay. And the reason for that is the 2 obvious things that are happening is a shrinking economy, meaning there's less jobs available. And when people vacate certain positions, the companies are not even filling the position. They may take that position and rebrand it and add a new description or turn it into something else and retrain for it, or they may not refill it at all. At all. Like the person holding that position now, they're the last person that's going to hold that position as it's known for that company. Because a lot of these companies are putting that money on the back end with AI, with agentic AI, with the automation, the streamlining, and all of the other stuff. Okay, that's what's happening. And so 3 years from now, if the current graduating class coming out of college that has intentions of going into the knowledge economy of IT, finance, HR, marketing, and all of this other stuff where 85% of your work has nothing to do with another human being, it's not going to be sweet no more. It's just not. But let's hear from another professor after this. after this, because they're talking about what new college graduates are facing. So let me play this. This is important.
A dismal hiring outlook for the graduating class of 2026.
Surveys show that job prospects for recent graduates are down significantly from a year ago. So what is going on?
Gen Z college graduates face an intimidating job market. 2025 saw over 2 million undergraduates earn their degrees, and most of them are struggling to find work.
I am still on the job hunt. It is something I have to motivate myself every day to kind of wake up and do.
It's not that new grads aren't trying to find work. It's that employer demand for entry-level workers is shrinking. According to one survey, 76% of employers reported hiring the same number or fewer entry-level employees in 2025 than in 2024. That same survey found that only 30% of 2025 graduates reported finding a full-time job in their field of study. At the same time, layoffs are at their highest level since the pandemic, with nearly 1.1 million job cuts reported between January and October 2025.
I actually had a couple friends, couple colleagues, and they were struggling the same way I was. They couldn't find a job, or they were going from job to job. I still have friends today after graduating college where they just got laid off and they're trying to find a new job.
The lack of new jobs for young job hunters is due to many factors, like post-pandemic overhiring, rising costs from inflation, and AI taking on a larger role in the workplace.
Folks are kind of just sitting still. They're not looking for new roles. They're not leaving their current roles. And without those new jobs available, it's hard for an entry-level employee to get their foot in the door and start their career.
Whatever the reasons for the hiring freeze, Gen Z must now figure out how to compete in an increasingly tight job market and whether or not a college degree is still necessary for a stable job. For 23-year-old Ashley Terrell, going to college wasn't optional.
For my parents, college was an expectation. It wasn't something they were asking me to do nicely. It was something that I was expected to do out of high school.
Ashley attended the University of Hawaii at Manoa. She graduated in 2024 with a degree in marketing, international business, entrepreneurship, and management.
After college, I hope to kind of work either like at a startup, doing something marketing related ideally.
But despite months of networking and filling out job applications in the run-up to graduation, the only offer Ashley received was from power tool manufacturer Tektronix Industries, promoting their products at a local Home Depot for $25 an hour.
I was basically a retail employee in the new Home Depot on Islands. I was downstocking Milwaukee and Ryobi products. I was drilling in display sets that you see when you walk through the aisles of a Home Depot.
Ashley eventually got another job at a local Marriott hotel, but was laid off in September 2025. At the time of our interview, she was still looking for work.
I want to say that I still am hopeful. Things are just changing really, really fast around, it seems like all industries, not just one. Half of the classmates that I graduated college with didn't have a job, and they all, walked the stage with me. And so it kind of feels like we're all in the same boat of how can we help each other when none of us are really thriving.
Ashley and her classmates are not alone. Since 2022, the unemployment rate for recent college grads has ticked up, topping out at 9.7% in September 2025, the same as for 20 to 24-year-olds with only a high school diploma. At the same time, the hiring rate for new grads in traditional white-collar industries has fallen, particularly in May and June when many companies hire entry-level employees.
The hiring rate has dropped pretty heavily from the summer of 2022 and 2021 through this past summer. In order to keep up with what we expect people to need as they enter into the labor market, we would want a hiring rate between 7 and 8%, and we're seeing around 4 to 5%.
Nick Tremper, a senior economist for payroll and HR service provider Gusto, says that many companies overhired in the post-pandemic economy in 2021 and 2022. Most of those hires have not moved on from their positions, and companies are now slower to take on new employees or refill roles following layoffs.
And what that means is that the job market is frozen in place. For people who are just starting out their careers, this means they're not getting that first step. They may not be getting that first entry-level job. And even more importantly, they're not moving on at a rate that we would have expected to see. Early in your career, you move around a lot to increase your earning potential, to increase your wages now and over your lifetime. A frozen labor market, especially for people in their 20s, means that that's just not happening for them.
Tremper also points to external factors over the last few years that have slowed down hiring.
We went from rapid wage growth to inflation to a stagnation in the labor market to unknown tariff policy. That meant that a lot of folks paused hiring.
The rise of AI has also contributed to the hiring freeze, though not necessarily in the way people might expect.
To date, we're not seeing people letting folks go because an AI can do the same type of job. But AI is allowing for this pause while small businesses evaluate where it's best to add that next employee. They're able to use AI to fill the gaps as they're thinking about their overall hiring strategy and what that looks like going forward.
In fact, AI may be responsible for some recent strength in one sector of the economy, the tech industry.
Hiring for new entrants at small businesses in the tech industry this summer, I think, is associated with AI builders. A lot of this is driven in San Francisco and San Jose. These are really the incubators for the next AI products that are coming out. They're not hiring folks to just use AI, but they're also hiring folks to build tools that incorporate AI, that expand on its abilities, and can serve some sort of market need.
But young job seekers like Ashley Terrell still see AI as a hindrance to finding a job.
I definitely feel that AI has affected the number of jobs I'm able to apply to. I have noticed in the last couple months that there have been fewer job postings that I am qualified for, just because I feel like AI is taking away some of those jobs.
Ashley says that many of her friends have given up on finding a job that matches their degrees.
Some of them have kind of settled for the underemployed route and have taken those jobs, and some of them went to trade school after getting, their BBA.
One such person is 25-year-old Chris Henderson. He graduated from Rowan University in 2022 with a degree in business management.
At the time, I saw myself getting a job in a financial firm, in an office firm, but I wasn't able to find anything that was really in my salary range. Instead, I was seeing roles like a store clerk. They didn't need a business management degree.
After 3 months of job searching, he decided to work for his family's electrician business.
Basically, my father said, Chris, the electrical trade, there's always going to be work in the field, and it is a safe career, and if you are ever having any doubts on the job market or the careers with the bachelor degree, you can always fall back on the trades, and it's always going to be a safe spot, and there's always going to be work there.
After a year, Chris decided to pursue electrician work as a career.
I actually do find it really satisfying and fulfilling as an electrician because it's nothing better than working with your hands and completing a job that you did on your own versus like working in an office job. Something about you doing it yourself and you perfecting your craft and doing something, it gave me a satisfaction like no other.
Chris is now making about $72,000 a year and plans to use his business degree to either run his family's business one day or start his own contracting company.
Right now, with all the AI, the electric vehicles, electric vehicle charging, there's so much demand and it's just going to keep growing. And we don't have enough younger Gen Z tradesmen to do these type of roles. If you like working with your hands and you are a problem solver, I think that the trades are a great route because they offer a nice job, a nice pay, a great future, and there's nothing wrong with it.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics predicts an increase of more than 77,000 new electrician jobs over the next 10 years. It also predicts more job openings for construction workers, nurse practitioners and registered nurses, software developers, and home healthcare aides. Many of those jobs require college degrees, but it still may take a while before the job market picks up steam.
I think in the short term, this is going to be the new normal for a little bit longer. But, I think that there are positive signs on the horizon. As the Federal Reserve continues to lower its interest rate, it'll increase stimulation in the economy, which could lead some of these small businesses to get off the sidelines and start making plans on how to grow and look towards the future.
Even as she searches for a job, Ashley Terrell says she's still glad she earned her college degree.
I don't have any regrets about going to college. The biggest way it paid off for me was just being able to grow a bit more independent away from my parents and to get some life skills.
Chris Henderson agrees.
I don't regret anything about college. There's certain aspects of college that teach you things like no other, such as time management. You learn a little more about yourself. I think that college was really a great route to really know what is your true passion.
I think the number one most powerful skill is to learn how to manage AI. Learn how to use the tool, incorporate it into what you're doing now. Learn how to communicate the fact that you can manage multiple tasks simultaneously through using tools like...
Yeah, I agree with what that gentleman said. I know I just ended it right there, but I just want to weigh in. And if possible, you guys can weigh in too. And just add this idea. Like if you currently have a job in the knowledge field, like if you're currently working in those areas that they say are most vulnerable to AI. So those areas obviously would be something like IT, information technology, where you're doing tech support, or you're an engineer, or you're on the server side, the back end side, or anywhere along there, anywhere in between that range, that one end to the other. Even in human resources, if you notice in companies now, human resources departments, in terms of human beings, they're like a skeleton. They're a shell of what they used to be, because a large percentage of time that the HR department spends actually performing their tasks and doing their duties has nothing to do with sitting there with a human being. It's not a whole gang of phone calls and FaceTime with staff and other employees that work there. So 80%, 85% of what an HR person actually does probably is, if not can be automated through some AI, through some agent, through some automated process that exists, or you can develop and will be there very soon. In fact, I watched the panel ADP, right? I watched a panel that was sponsored by ADP, and they hosted a lot of executive and C-level people from different companies, and they talked about how they're noticing a lot of the jobs, the positions are not being refilled, and that many of the positions are being redefined, relabeled, rebranded. And of course so, because AI is coming. So now you don't have to hire that guy that needs a certain amount of experience and has to do, let's say, A through H. Now we can get a guy, pay him much less. He has to have a different type of skill set, and this is what he'll be doing. It's just things like that. But if you're currently working and you have whatever your position might be, where you're dealing with spreadsheets, you're dealing with some type of document or data analysis or whatever it is like that, you're providing tech support, you're in the finance department, the accounting department, the marketing department, any of these departments where you're considered a knowledge worker because you're dealing with systems, you're learning applications, you're using software, and you're dependent on the back end of you are system aware about what needs to happen next in your process to do what you do. Learn about AI. Learn about the additional resources, the developments, new applications and ways in your domain, in your field of expertise, that you can use AI to augment, to improve, to make better what you do. You can really, if you currently have a position, you currently have a job, you can really level up and empower yourself and take your understanding and your learning to the next level if you just embrace and not be like, oh, AI, don't be reluctant. No, look, if you're in HR, if you're in finance, you're in any of those departments, look for what that enterprise level software that you guys might be using, that application that you might be using. Do some research on your own. Don't wait for your boss to tell you, your superintendent or your director or CEO or C-level, whatever. Do your own research. If you're working in the HR department or you're working in the procurement department and you're using a particular software, do some research on your own and say, hey, with this software, is there an AI aspect of it? And then you might find out that, yeah, they've launched the AI engine and it's really in the chat bot, or it's in a particular part of that process, and it will allow you to do X, Y, Z. All of a sudden, there's opportunities there for you to learn that part, to actually be part of your company or your environment or your business or organization, bringing that AI engine into your environment, and you get trained on it. You know, you got to step up, not step back, not become a witness to what's right in front of your face. And please don't put your head down like you don't see the train coming. It's coming. It's here for many or some, but it's coming for most. And that's the thing. But let me bring this professor up. He actually teaches at U of C, which is
How
the
do I
University of
get
Chicago.
an AI tutor?
And what he talks about, he's
Some
not
moment-
only a professor, he's an author, he's a couple things. But what he talks about is how he feels bad that at the university level, he has to teach people who are there based on a grant, based on a loan they've taken, based on a scholarship that they've earned or won, about things that don't even matter, to make it seem like they do when in reality they don't. And he says he feels bad about it. This is Steve Levitt. He's also the author of a book called Freakonomics, and he's sitting here doing a one-on-one chat with one of Google's CTO, Chief Technology Officers, Ben Gomez, depending on how you pronounce it. And what they're talking about is how college looks different. What are the opportunities when they get out of college? And he basically confesses. And he says, I have to sit there and come up with a crafty way of testing and asking questions and presenting projects to the students about things that don't even matter. But let's take a listen.
In your life 20 years from now, you're going to say, oh my God, I need to know a right triangle. I need to make some calculation about it. Versus just-in-time learning, which is something which actually makes sense. So you and I have both at various points in our life faced problems where we didn't know what the answers were and we didn't have the right tools. And what I do, and I assume you do, is say, well, I got to go learn those tools. And I was equipped to be able to learn those tools. So I think you're right. In a world in which you do not know what you'll be doing 5 years from now or 20 years from now, and a world in which so much knowledge is now at our fingertips, cramming your head full of facts and formulas is not the answer to managing the future. It's not even, it's self-evident that it's not the, but it's hard for the system to catch up, in part because the system is built on evaluation, right, of giving grades. And as an educator teaching at the University of Chicago, look, I'm the worst offender in the world. I need to somehow give some kids A's and some kids B's. And the easiest way to do that is to teach them things that don't matter in ways that are somewhat hard and overcomplicated so that I have a way to separate them out. And it's terrible, and I'm embarrassed about it, but it's what I do in my everyday life.
Did you hear that? He said it's terrible. He's embarrassed by it. He's sitting there separating university level students who then took a loan out. They're in debt as a result of pursuing this path of academia towards their careers. And he's sitting up there as a professor crafting questions and projects and presentations to them so that he can make it appear to them how this is so significant and important, and it says something about you if you can't complete it at a certain level, while he sits there knowing it doesn't even matter.